In this video, I'm going to show ACT users how they can prepare for the Canadian anti-spam legislation. First, let's briefly talk about what CASL is. It's the Canadian anti-spam legislation, and it comes into effect on July 1st, 2014, and it governs commercial electronic communications. The fines are huge. In my opinion, they've really gone overboard with this. The fines are up to $10 million for business, and the laws are really restrictive. So here's what you need to know about it. First of all, this is stricter than what the US started years ago. In the US since 2003, we've had the CAN-SPAM legislation that requires you to clearly identify who emails come from, have an unsubscribe mechanism, and provide prompt removal from your list. CASL is much stricter. You have to have express consent. That means that it's not enough for someone to give you a business card and you add them to the list, or you run into them somewhere and somehow just add your email to your database and have a way to opt out. You actually need to have explicit permission from them to communicate electronically. All right, so that means your list has to opt in rather than opt out. So if you have a list right now of 5,000 email addresses and you don't have explicit permission from them, you've got some major work to do. So we'll talk a little bit about some of those requirements and some of the methods to get that permission. Okay, so the government refers to this as a CEM. This is a commercial electronic message. In order to send them, you have to obtain consent. Okay, we'll go into more details on that. You have to provide identification. So it has to have your company name and address in it. And then you have to have an unsubscribe mechanism as well. Okay, so it's similar to CAN-SPAM in that way, but in order to obtain consent, here's what's required. First of all, if you have an existing relationship, you get a 36-month grace period on this. By the time that is up, you need to have permission from your customers and prospects that you're working with today as well. But for new contacts, new people being added to your list, the onus is on you, the sender, to track consent. And tracking includes how you got consent. Was it written or was it oral? When did you get it? So you need the date. Why did you get it? Did they sign up for a newsletter? Did they give you a business card? And the manner. So how was it that they gave you permission? Was it through a form online? Was it when they signed up for your newsletter? Did they phone in? So you need the specifics on that. The reason you need that is if somebody makes a complaint, the onus is on you to prove that you have consent. All right, so moving forward, here's a couple of things that you need to know as well. Pre-checked boxes are a no-no. So if you have a form on your website that has someone fill in their information and you have a box that says, please communicate with me, you can't check off the box as a default. You have to assume that you can't communicate unless they opt in. So they have to check the box. You are allowed to contact someone whose contact information was provided to you as a referral, but you have to identify the reason as such. So that your email has to say, hey, I'm contacting you because I was referred by so-and-so, and you have to have the full name of the referrer. You also need to ensure that your existing list provides you with consent. So again, if you have an email list right now and you didn't get explicit consent when you had people sign up for that, or you've just kind of collected those email addresses over time, you need to go back to them and get that. All right, so what do I do now? Because the majority of businesses do not have that kind of consent. They don't have it recorded. It's a list that they've built over time. So now they've got some work to do. So you could email your entire list and ask them to reply and then record the responses. So that means every time someone emails you back, if they email you back, you'd have to go and create a note or just log somewhere that, yes, you got consent via email, here's the date, and make sure that you've got everything that you need in order to meet those requirements. You could create a survey online and then send out a link. What companies will find though is you really want to make it easy to do this, and a survey isn't easy. Someone has to click on the link, they've got to answer the question, they've got to hit submit. We want this to be as dead simple as possible. The reason is you've only got one shot at this, and you want as many people as possible to opt in, so after July 1st, you can continue to communicate with them. Okay, and you could contact everyone by phone. If you have 100 people on your mailing list, this is feasible. If you have a larger list, that's a ton of work. All right, so in order to help ACT users with this, we've created a tool that ties into ACT. Okay, so it allows you to automate this. So what you'll do with the tool is the tool will send out an email for you. You'll go ahead and pull up a search, pull up your entire database, maybe a specific group, anyone you want to request permission from, and then use the tool to go ahead and email them. The tool will send out a simple email that will ask them for permission to communicate. It's going to have a link that they click on, and then a very simple accept or decline button on that page. So with 2 clicks, it takes 3 seconds for someone to do this. We want to make it easy for them so that if they're on the fence about staying on your list, we're going to get their approval. We don't want to make this hard to do, because unless someone is a raving fan, they're not going to take 5 minutes to send approval. We've got to make this dead simple. All right, and of course the results can be imported into ACT. So after your audience has gone through, they've hit accept, some will hit decline, you can pull all that back into ACT. So here's what it looks like. It's a basic looking tool. You can control the email subject and the closing text, and then an email is going to go out asking them to click on the link. Then they're going to get, that link will take them to a page that has your company logo, your company name on it, the specific address you're confirming, and an accept or decline button. Now, we can't pre-check a box that says accept and just have them click something else and have to uncheck it, as I mentioned. But we've got accept nicely highlighted. Makes it just a little bit easier to see that accept button, hit it. And then we'll import that into ACT. The tool connects to the website that we use, brings that back in. It records whether permission was granted or not, and it logs a history. So if you ever have someone that says, hey, I'm making a complaint because you don't have my permission, you've got proof. Okay, you have the information that you need in order to be able to comply and to send email out to these people. Now, the nice thing is, because it's also in ACT, not only have you recorded the details there, but it makes it very easy to pull a list of maybe some of the more important contacts who have not accepted or declined yet. All right, we don't need to call the folks who have accepted. We don't need to call the folks who have declined, but maybe there are some people where you didn't get a response and now you want to call them, and that's a much easier task. All right, so this tool can be purchased for $199. You can send out the emails with your own email account. I recommend you set up a $10 SendGrid account for those emails to go out. Just because of the volume, your internet service provider may not permit you to send as many emails as you need to get this done. We'll give you instructions on how you can set up a $10 account to do that, along with step-by-step instructions for the process to get this set up. And by no means am I a lawyer, so this information is not complete. I do not guarantee the accuracy of it. I highly recommend that you do your own research still and visit fightspam.gc.ca for more information about the Canadian anti-spam legislation. And remember, this goes into effect on July 1st, 2014. So June is your chance to get these emails out. While you don't need explicit consent yet, get that email out and then get the responses back.